In the ongoing fire incident in Los Angeles, some teenagers, while searching and ransacking burnt buildings, entered a house where everything inside had been reduced to ashes, except for one thing, a holy Bible, which was completely untouched and looked fresh and clean.
Bro, out of this whole burnt shit,
on, bro.
this Bible is not...
Nah, bro. Nah.
That's God. Look around, bro.
Nah, bro.
Untouched.
Nah, bro, that's weird.
As you can see from the video, the teenagers were shocked. This is a powerful reminder of how sacred and enduring the Bible is. This right here is one of the many miracles recorded. In this video, we'll take you through several instances where God proved the power of fire wrong and rendered it powerless. We shall be exploring real stories of miracles, stories where sacred objects withstood raging flames that consumed everything around them. From untouched Bibles found in burned-down homes to altars, Holy Communion, crosses, images of Jesus, religious statues standing unharmed amidst ruins, and many more shocking miracles. These are moments that leave witnesses in awe and skeptics searching for answers. These aren't just stories. They are signs of hope, faith, and affirmations of God's presence and wonders during dark times. Stay with us as we take you through these amazing events. Whether you believe in miracles or are simply curious, these stories will captivate you and leave you questioning how such miracles are even possible, and a subtle reminder that God exists. Let's begin with the miracle from Virginia. On a quiet evening in May 2022, a Virginia highway became the site of a terrifying accident. A car traveling at high speed veered off the road and collided with a concrete barrier. The vehicle burst into flames on impact, sending thick black smoke into the sky. Passing drivers pulled over, horrified by the sight, and called for emergency services. By the time firefighters arrived, the car was completely engulfed in flames. The intense heat had melted the metal frame, shattered the glass, and consumed the interior. After extinguishing the fire, the responders surveyed the wreckage. The scene was grim. There was almost nothing left to salvage. But as the firefighters examined the burned car, they noticed something extraordinary. Among the ashes, lying on the driver's seat, was a Bible. Though the edges were slightly charred, the book was mostly intact. Its cover was scorched, but the pages inside were undamaged, as though protected by an unseen force. The discovery left the firefighters speechless. One of them, a seasoned veteran of the department, later remarked, "In all my years, I've never seen anything like this. The fire destroyed everything in that car, yet this Bible survived. It's hard to explain. It feels like a miracle." News of the unburned Bible quickly spread, first among the first responders and then to the wider community. The Bible's owner, a young man named James Carter, heard about the discovery while recovering in the hospital. Miraculously, he had survived the accident with only minor injuries. When he learned that his Bible had been found unscathed, James was overcome with emotion. "That Bible was given to me by my grandmother," James explained. "She always told me to keep it close and to read it whenever I felt lost. I had it in the car with me that night. To know it survived, it's like God is telling me something." The Bible, James shared, had been his source of strength through difficult times. Inside the front cover, his grandmother had written a note which reads, "James, never forget that God is with you, even in the fire." Those words took on a new and powerful meaning after the accident. For James, the survival of the Bible was more than just a coincidence. He saw it as a sign of divine protection and a second chance at life. The experience deepened his faith and inspired him to share his story with others. "I believe God kept me alive for a reason," he said, "and he kept this Bible to remind me of his presence." The story of James's Bible touched hearts across Virginia and beyond. Many who heard about it were reminded of the enduring power of faith, even in the face of life's greatest trials. For James, it was a turning point that changed his perspective on life. He began volunteering at his local church, sharing his testimony and encouraging others to trust in God's plan. Today, the unburned Bible holds a place of honor in James's home. It serves as a daily reminder of God's protection and the importance of holding on to faith, no matter the circumstances. The accident that could have taken his life instead became the moment that strengthened his connection to God. For those who hear James's story, the message is clear. Even in the fire, God's presence remains and his word endures forever. And next is a miracle from Florida. In the sunny state of Florida, specifically in the small town of Miami Springs, an unexpected event took place in the summer of 2024. A house fire broke out, consuming a home that stood as a testament to a family's love for their faith. The Gonzalez family, known in their community for their devotion, had a special place in their home dedicated to religious artifacts, including a revered image of the Virgin of Guadalupe. When the fire department arrived, the house was already engulfed in flames. The structure was old, and the fire seemed to feed off every wooden frame and piece of furniture. Neighbors watched in dismay, fearing for the Gonzalez family's belongings and sacred items. After the fire was put out, the Gonzalez family, who had thankfully evacuated in time, returned to survey the damage. Their home was gutted, leaving behind a landscape of charred remains. However, amidst this destruction, there was an astonishing sight. The image of the Virgin of Guadalupe, which had hung in the prayer corner, was found completely undamaged. The picture, framed in simple wood that should have been fuel for the fire, stood out vividly against the blackened walls. Not a speck of soot marred the image, and the colors were as bright as if they had been painted the day before. Firefighters, including Chief Rodriguez, were baffled and moved by this. He later shared with local media, "In all my years, I've never seen anything like this. It's like the fire went around it." Photos of the unscathed image spread across social media, garnering thousands of shares and comments from people around the world, many seeing it as a miraculous sign. The Gonzalez family interpreted this as a sign of divine protection, a message of faith and hope. They shared their story at their local church and in community gatherings, where the image now holds a place of honor, often brought out during services or special events. This incident became a local legend, a story of faith triumphing over adversity, often recounted to inspire hope or to reaffirm belief in miracles. For the Gonzalez family, the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe became more than an artifact. It was a symbol of resilience and a constant reminder of the presence of the divine in their lives, even when faced with the most challenging circumstances. And next is the miraculous freshness of consecrated hosts in Siena, Italy. In the historic city of Siena, Italy, a peculiar and deeply spiritual event unfolded in 1730, one that would be remembered and discussed for centuries. The city, known for its medieval charm and religious fervor, was home to the Basilica of San Clemente, a place of worship that held many sacred relics and stories. During this time, a theft was committed within the basilica. Consecrated hosts, or the Eucharistic bread, were stolen. This act was not just a theft, but was seen as a profound sacrilege in the eyes of the faithful. The community was in shock, prayers were said, and the local authorities were on the hunt for the culprit. Days later, the stolen hosts were mysteriously returned to the basilica, placed back in their rightful place. What made this event extraordinary was not just the return of the hosts, but their condition upon discovery. Against all expectations, these consecrated hosts, which should have been dried out or decayed after being exposed to the elements, were found to be as fresh as if they had been consecrated moments before. This phenomenon was immediately reported, and word spread like wildfire through Siena and beyond. The clergy, including the bishop, were called to witness this inexplicable occurrence. The hosts were examined, and it was confirmed. They showed no signs of decay, maintaining their freshness in a way that defied natural explanation. The event was seen by many Catholics as a miracle, a divine sign of the presence of God within the Eucharist. It was celebrated with special services, and the story of the hosts became part of the basilica's history, often recounted during sermons and teachings on faith and the Eucharist's sacredness. Over time, these hosts were preserved in a special reliquary, becoming a focal point for pilgrims and visitors alike who came to see this testament to faith. The miracle was documented in church records, local histories, and even became a topic of theological discussion regarding the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. This incident in Siena not only reinforced the faith of the local community, but also served as a profound reminder to all Christians of the mystery and sanctity of the Eucharist, a symbol of Christ's enduring presence among his followers, even in the face of human frailty and sin. Also, in the spring of 2024, a peaceful monastery hidden in the rolling hills of Northern California became the site of an unexpected tragedy. St. Nicholas Orthodox Monastery, a sacred place known for its quiet beauty and deep devotion to preserving the traditions of Eastern Orthodoxy, faced a devastating fire that would change its history forever. The fire started in the monastery's kitchen. What began as a small spark quickly grew into a raging blaze, fueled by the old wooden beams that held up the century-old structure. The monks, joined by local firefighters, fought desperately to contain the flames, but the fire spread too fast. Within hours, the historic building was consumed. The monks watched helplessly as the place they had called home for so long was reduced to a smoldering ruin. When the fire finally died down, the scene was heartbreaking. Blackened walls, collapsed beams, and piles of ashes were all that remained of the once beautiful monastery. The monks feared they had lost everything, their cherished relics, ancient texts, and sacred icons. But as they sifted through the ruins, something incredible came to light. Inside one of the chapels, amid the destruction, an icon of Jesus Christ, known to the monks as the Savior, was found completely untouched. This wasn't just any icon. Painted on wood with rich colors and delicate gold leaf, it dated back to the monastery's founding over 100 years ago. The glass frame that had protected it was shattered and melted from the heat, but the icon itself was perfect. Not a single scorch mark, not a speck of soot, nothing to suggest it had been surrounded by flames. The monks were stunned. After losing so much, here was a powerful sign of hope. Father Michael, the abbot of the monastery, stood before his community, holding back tears. "Even in the midst of destruction, God is with us," he said. "This icon is a reminder that our faith is stronger than fire." While some called it a miracle, others wondered if there was a natural explanation. But for the monks, the reason didn't matter. To them, the survival of the icon was a sign of divine protection, a message that even in loss, there is resilience, and in destruction, there is hope. Determined to rebuild, the monks made plans to construct a new monastery, with the icon as the centerpiece of their new chapel. It would stand as a symbol of their enduring faith, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, God's light shines through. Today, the story of the Savior continues to inspire. Pilgrims visit the site not just to see the icon, but to experience the peace and hope it represents. The fire may have destroyed the building, but it could not destroy the spirit of the monks or the sacred legacy they carry forward. In a world where destruction often feels final, the undamaged icon stands as a testament. Some things are too sacred for even the fiercest flames to consume. Next is the shocking miracle from the fire that devastated Notre Dame Cathedral in France. On the evening of April 15, 2019, the world watched in shock and sorrow as flames consumed the iconic Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, France. For over 800 years, this magnificent Gothic structure had stood as a symbol of faith, art, and history. But on that fateful day, a massive fire broke out beneath its roof, spreading rapidly and threatening to destroy one of the most beloved landmarks in the world. The fire started during renovation work and quickly engulfed the wooden framework, known as the forest, which supported the roof. The towering spire, a symbol of the cathedral's grandeur, collapsed in a fiery blaze, devastating onlookers who had gathered to witness the tragedy. Thousands stood in silence along the banks of the Seine River, their faces illuminated by the glow of the fire. Inside the cathedral, the heat and flames wreaked havoc, destroying priceless artifacts and artworks. The firefighters worked tirelessly through the night, battling the inferno and risking their lives to save what they could. Among their top priorities were the cathedral's most sacred relics, including the crown of thorns, believed to have been worn by Jesus Christ during his crucifixion, and the tunic of St. Louis, the 13th century king of France. When the fire was finally extinguished, the extent of the damage became clear. The roof and spire were gone, and much of the interior was charred and covered in ash. Yet, amidst the destruction, there were remarkable signs of hope. The altar, adorned with a golden cross, stood untouched. Photographs of the scene, showing the cross gleaming brightly amid the rubble, went viral and became a powerful symbol of resilience and faith. The consecrated hosts was also untouched. The three famous rose windows, made of stained glass and dating back to the 13th century, were miraculously preserved. Though some parts of the glass were damaged, the intricate designs depicting biblical scenes survived the blaze. The great organ, another treasure of the cathedral, also remained largely intact, though it required extensive cleaning and restoration. For many, the survival of these relics and artifacts was more than just a stroke of luck. It was a sign of divine protection. Cardinal André 23, the Archbishop Emeritus of Paris, reflected on the event, saying, "In the midst of destruction, we have seen the hand of God preserving what is most sacred." The tragedy of the Notre Dame fire brought people together in a remarkable way. Within days, donations poured in from around the world to support the restoration of the cathedral. Over €1 billion was pledged by individuals, companies, and governments, showing the deep love and reverence people held for this historic site. Today, the restoration of Notre Dame is well underway. The rescued relics, including the crown of thorns, are safely housed in the nearby Louvre Museum, while work continues to restore the cathedral to its former glory. The fire, though devastating, became a moment that reminded the world of the enduring power of faith and the resilience of sacred places. For those who witnessed the fire or heard the story, the gleaming cross, the unbroken rose windows, and the preserved relics are powerful reminders that, even in the face of destruction, hope and faith remain unshaken. Another interesting story is from the Great Smoky Mountains region of Tennessee. In the fall of 2016, the Great Smoky Mountains region of Tennessee was struck by one of the worst wildfires in its history. Driven by drought, high winds, and unseasonably warm weather, the flames spread rapidly, consuming thousands of acres of forested land and reaching deep into the surrounding communities. The fires burned fiercely, reducing homes, businesses, and nature to ash. One particular area most deeply impacted was the town of Gatlinburg, a popular tourist destination known for its picturesque mountain views and serene atmosphere. But that serenity was shattered when, over several days, the fire roared through the town, devastating entire neighborhoods. The thick smoke choked the air, and flames swept through homes and buildings, leaving behind charred debris and a trail of destruction. Amid the ruins stood St. Mary's Episcopal Church, a historic church built in the early 1900s. The church had long been a cornerstone of faith for the local community, hosting weddings, Sunday services, and charity events. But as the fire approached, the fear was palpable. The wooden structure, surrounded by dry forest, seemed like an easy target for the flames. Evacuation orders were issued, and most residents fled. Firefighters fought valiantly to save as much as they could, but the heat and intensity of the wildfire proved overwhelming. The church, built of wood and stone, quickly caught fire. Roof beams cracked and collapsed under the blaze, and the windows shattered. It wasn't long before the entire building was engulfed. Days later, when the flames had been subdued, the town returned to survey the damage. What they found was heart-wrenching. Nearly every building, every house, every structure in Gatlinburg had been reduced to ash. Entire neighborhoods were unrecognizable. Nothing remained but rubble. Yet to everyone's astonishment, the church bell, the centerpiece of the church, had survived. Amid the ashes, the large bronze bell, which had rung out for countless services and events over the years, stood untouched. It was blackened from heat, but still intact. No burn marks marred its surface. Its metal remained cool to the touch, though everything around it had been consumed. A local firefighter, stunned by the sight, carefully approached and lifted the bell. "This didn't burn," he muttered in disbelief. "How is this even possible?" News of the surviving bell quickly spread throughout the community. People from all over Gatlinburg came to witness the phenomenon for themselves. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. The bell, a symbol of hope, had remained standing in the midst of devastation. "This bell, it's still here," one local said, shaking his head in amazement. "Even after everything that burned, this bell is untouched." The pastor, Reverend Mark O'Connor, was overcome with emotion when he saw it. "This bell has called us to worship for generations," he said, "and now, even after the fire, it still stands. It's a sign from God that He hasn't abandoned us." The surviving bell became a powerful symbol of hope for the entire town. It represented not only the endurance of the church, but the resilience of faith in the face of tragedy. Slowly, the people of Gatlinburg began to rebuild, inspired by the miraculous sight of the bell. Today, the bell has been placed in a memorial outside the new church, serving as a reminder that even in the darkest times, faith can endure. It stands as a beacon of hope for the town, a reminder that no fire, no disaster can extinguish the spirit of the community and their trust in God. Also, in the midst of the current devastation of the California wildfires, one family has seen a sign of heavenly hope that has deepened their Catholic faith. A statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary that has stood in front of Peter and Jackie Halpin's home in Altadena, California for a year was somehow barely touched by the wildfire, even though the house where the couple has lived for 37 years was destroyed. The statue was somewhat scorched, but is otherwise in pretty good shape. Most of Altadena, a town 8 miles north of Pasadena with about 45,000 residents, was devastated by the wildfires. And yet, this little concrete statue is fine. It's a little browner. That's it, Jackie told the tablet on January 13. It just reinforced my faith that it's going to be okay, she said. We have to have hope.
We got up there, we all just stood around, and it was remarkable that how everything had gotten fried, but the statue of the Virgin Mary and another statue of St. Joseph were in perfect condition. Obviously, they were a little singed.
As of January 13, 2025, the Southern California wildfires have killed at least 24 people, destroyed 40,000 acres of land, and forced more than 100,000 people to flee their homes, according to state officials. Jackie, a teacher, and Peter, a private contractor, had already fled to safety when the flames reached their neighborhood on January 7. The couple grabbed a few items and left behind the house where they had lived since 1988 and raised their 6 children. Since evacuating their home, Jackie said she and Peter have been couch surfing. The couple, who said they attend weekly mass at St. Andrew's Church in Pasadena and regularly pray at home, purchased the Virgin Mary statue from a nursery last year. Peter built the concrete platform to display it on their property. Jackie and Peter learned of the statue's resilience when their son-in-law sneaked past police lines after the fire to get into Altadena and see the destruction. He was astonished to discover that while the Halpins' home was reduced to rubble, the statue of the Blessed Mother, along with a smaller statue of St. Joseph, was intact. He took pictures and sent them to Peter and Jackie. It's utter devastation, except for this beautiful Virgin Mary statue, and I just fell to my knees. I was just so emotional, and I thought, oh gosh, she's still there. She's still watching over us, Jackie said. The Halpins decided they wanted to see the statue for themselves, so they returned to their property with their entire family. They were so overjoyed by what they found that they prayed and sang hymns of praise. Their reaction was captured on a video and went viral on social media. While the couple is saddened to lose their home, Jackie said they are grateful they made it out safely. "We still have our family," she said, adding that they eventually plan to move back to Altadena and rebuild. "We absolutely do plan to move back," Jackie said. "I actually want my exact little house. I don't know if that's impossible, but we are going to rebuild." Also, the night of October 29th, 2012 was one that the residents of Breezy Point, New York would never forget. Hurricane Sandy, one of the most destructive storms to hit the United States, roared through the East Coast, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Breezy Point, a close-knit community in Queens, suffered some of the worst destruction. Floodwaters surged through the streets, and as if the hurricane wasn't enough, a massive fire broke out during the chaos, consuming over 100 homes. The blaze, fueled by strong winds and ruptured gas lines, spread rapidly, turning the neighborhood into an inferno. The flames devoured everything in their path, houses, cars, and possessions, all reduced to ash. The scene was apocalyptic. Firefighters struggled to contain the flames, while residents, already reeling from the hurricane, watched helplessly as their homes burned to the ground. In the middle of this devastation stood St. Thomas More Church, a small place of worship beloved by the community. It too was engulfed by the fire. By morning, the church was a pile of smoldering ruins. The loss was profound for the faithful, as the church had been a spiritual anchor for the community for decades. But as the smoke cleared and the ashes cooled, something extraordinary was revealed. Amid the rubble of the destroyed church, a large wooden cross stood tall and untouched. Though everything around it had been reduced to ash, the cross remained intact, unscathed by the fire. The discovery left everyone in awe. Firefighters, residents, and even seasoned reporters who had seen countless disasters were moved by the sight of the unburned cross. It became a powerful symbol of hope and resilience for the community, a sign that faith could endure even in the face of unimaginable destruction. News of the unburned cross spread quickly, capturing the attention of people across the nation. Images of the cross standing amidst the ruins of Breezy Point were shared on social media and featured in news reports. For many, it was a reminder that God's presence remains even in the darkest moments. Father Michael Duffy, the parish priest, spoke about the significance of the cross during a makeshift service held in the days following the disaster. He said, "This cross is a sign. It's a message from God that while we may have lost so much, He has not abandoned us. He is with us in our pain, and He will help us rebuild." The cross became a rallying point for the Breezy Point community as they began the long and painful process of rebuilding their lives. Volunteers from across the country came to help with the cleanup, and donations poured in to support the recovery efforts. Though the road to recovery was long, the sight of the unburned cross inspired the community to press forward with hope and determination. Today, a new church stands where St. Thomas More once was, rebuilt through the combined efforts of the community and countless supporters. The unburned cross now holds a place of honor in the new building, displayed prominently as a reminder of the miracle that happened on that fateful night. For the people of Breezy Point, the cross represents more than just survival. It's a testament to the enduring power of faith and the strength of a community united in hope. Even in the face of overwhelming loss, the cross serves as a beacon of God's presence, reminding them that faith can withstand even the fiercest of storms and fires. Next is the miracle of the 150-year-old Bible of Plover, Wisconsin. In the small, quiet town of Plover, Wisconsin, a historic church stood for more than 150 years. Springs United Methodist Church, with its tall steeple and stained glass windows, had been a beacon of faith and community for generations. But on January 3, 2019, tragedy struck. It was a cold winter evening when a devastating fire engulfed the historic church. The flames spread quickly, fueled by the old wooden structure, and soon the entire building was ablaze. Firefighters from the community responded immediately, battling the inferno in freezing temperatures. Despite their best efforts, the fire consumed the church, leaving behind only ruins. By morning, members of the congregation gathered around the charred remains of their beloved church. Many wept as they looked at what was left, a pile of rubble where their place of worship once stood. The loss was deeply personal for everyone, as the church had been a cornerstone of the community for over a century. As the firefighters sifted through the ashes, they came across something extraordinary. Buried beneath the rubble, they found an old Bible, its pages remarkably intact. The firefighters carefully lifted it from the debris and handed it to Pastor Tim O'Brien, the church's leader. Pastor O'Brien recognized the Bible immediately. It was a 150-year-old family Bible that had been passed down through generations of the congregation. The Bible had been kept on a special display stand at the front of the church. Despite the intense heat of the fire that had melted metal and destroyed everything around it, the Bible had survived. "It's truly a work of God," Pastor O'Brien said in an interview. "The fact that this Bible made it through the fire is nothing short of miraculous. It's a powerful reminder that God's word cannot be destroyed." The discovery of the Bible brought comfort to the grieving congregation. They saw it as a sign of hope and a symbol of their faith's resilience. As the church members began the process of rebuilding, the unburned Bible became a central part of their story. It was placed in a temporary worship space where members could see it and be reminded of God's presence in their lives. Over the next few months, the community came together to rebuild Springs United Methodist Church. Donations poured in from across the country, and volunteers worked tirelessly to restore what had been lost. Throughout it all, the unburned Bible remained a source of inspiration and strength. When the new church was finally completed, a special ceremony was held to honor the Bible and its miraculous survival. It was placed in a glass case at the front of the sanctuary, where it continues to serve as a testament to God's power and the enduring nature of faith. For the congregation of Springs United Methodist Church, the 150-year-old Bible is more than just a relic. It's a symbol of hope, resilience, and the unshakable power of God's word. It reminds them that even in the face of destruction, their faith will endure. Also, in October 2017, the city of Santa Rosa, California, found itself battling one of the deadliest and most destructive wildfires in its history. A powerful combination of high winds, dry vegetation, and extreme heat fueled the flames, causing the fires to spread rapidly throughout the area. The firestorm burned with such intensity that neighborhoods, vineyards, and businesses were consumed within hours. Homes were reduced to ashes, and families fled for their lives, leaving behind everything they had. Among the structures hit hardest was Our Lady of Guadalupe Catholic Church, a historic and cherished place of worship in the heart of Santa Rosa. The church had been a cornerstone for the local community, a sanctuary where parishioners came together for daily mass, baptisms, weddings, and community gatherings. The fire quickly surrounded the area, and despite the firefighters' efforts, the flames quickly took hold. The fire consumed the church's wooden frame, melting the roof and burning the walls down to their foundation. The interior was swallowed by the flames, the pews, altar, decorations, and sacred artifacts, all destroyed. Days later, when the firefighters and emergency teams combed through the charred remains, they were surprised to find something unusual, an image of the Virgin Mary painted on a wooden panel which had miraculously survived. Amid the blackened debris, the firefighter, stunned, saw something still standing, an image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, miraculously untouched by fire. The flames had scorched everything around it, yet the image, though scorched on the edges, remained intact. The paint on the wooden panel was faded, but the face of the Virgin Mary, the vibrant colors, and the hands folded in prayer were still visible. The firefighter knelt down, holding it carefully. "Look at this. It didn't burn," he said, shaking his head in disbelief. "Even the fire didn't touch it." Word quickly spread among the survivors. Parishioners, friends, and local residents gathered near the ruins of the church, their eyes wide with wonder as they gazed upon the miraculous sight. For the community, the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe became a symbol of hope in the midst of destruction. It was a miraculous sign that even in the face of such immense tragedy, their faith hadn't been destroyed. The image stood as a testament to the power of divine protection. "We lost so much," the parish priest, Father Javier Morales, said, his voice choked with emotion. "But this picture, this image of Our Lady, it shows us that God's love is stronger than the flames." The surviving image of Our Lady of Guadalupe traveled with the community as they sought refuge in temporary places of worship, reminding them that their faith had not been extinguished. The picture was cleaned, and efforts began to restore it so that it could serve as a focal point for their new place of worship. Today, the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe is displayed prominently in the new church, a constant reminder of the miraculous protection and the enduring power of faith. It stands as a beacon of hope for the people of Santa Rosa, a symbol that even in the face of destruction, God's presence never fades. And next is the West Virginia church fire of 2019. In early December 2019, Mount Zion Baptist Church, in a small rural town in West Virginia, was preparing for its annual Christmas service. The church, a modest yet dearly beloved place of worship, had been a gathering point for the community for decades. The congregation, a tight-knit group of farmers, workers, and local families, came together regularly to share faith, love, and support for one another. But tragedy struck just days before their Christmas celebration. A fire started late one night, seemingly without warning. The exact cause was never determined, though suspicion fell on an electrical issue. By the time firefighters arrived, the wooden church, over a century old, was already engulfed in flames. Despite the community's best efforts to save it, the fire burned through the entire building, reducing the sanctuary, pews, and everything inside to ash. The roof caved in, and within hours, nothing remained but charred beams and rubble. The fire's destruction was devastating. The beloved church, which had stood as a symbol of hope and faith, was gone. But amidst the ruins, something remarkable happened. A small, ancient wooden cross was found. A firefighter, digging through the debris, came across the cross, blackened from the intense heat but unbroken. The fire had reduced everything around it to ash, yet the cross remained. The firefighter picked it up gently, holding it up for others to see. It didn't burn, the firefighter said in astonishment. Look at it, everything else is gone, but this cross, it's still standing. The congregation, now gathered nearby, watched in shock and disbelief. As they drew closer, they could see that the cross had indeed survived, its wooden frame charred, the surface blackened by the flames, but the structure remained intact. "It's the cross," one church member murmured, her voice trembling. "Even after the fire, it's still here." The pastor, Reverend James Carter, approached slowly and took the cross into his hands. He looked at the congregation, tears in his eyes. This is a sign," he said. "No fire, no destruction can take away our faith. This cross has stood for over a century, and it stands now as proof that God is still with us." The news of the surviving cross quickly spread throughout the town, sparking hope and wonder in the hearts of many. People came from neighboring towns to witness the miraculous sight, their faith renewed by the simple, enduring symbol of Jesus' sacrifice. "It's a reminder," one elderly woman said, wiping tears from her eyes. "No matter what happens, no matter how dark it gets, God's love will never burn out." The congregation, inspired by the surviving cross, made it their mission to rebuild Mount Zion Baptist Church. The cross became the focal point of their new place of worship, a symbol of faith and hope that brought them together once more. They worked tirelessly to restore the church, and during every service, they would gather around the cross to pray, sing, and remember God's presence in their lives. Today, that same wooden cross stands proudly in the center of the new church, a living testament to the power of faith and the resilience of God's promises. It serves as a daily reminder to the community that, even in the face of destruction, God's love and grace endure. And the last story is that of Freedom Ministry Church in West Virginia. In March 3rd, 2019, tragedy struck Freedom Ministries Church in Grandview, West Virginia. The quiet Sunday night was shattered as flames erupted from the church, lighting up the sky and consuming the building in minutes. The fire was so intense that firefighters were forced to retreat and fight it from a safe distance. By the time the blaze was under control, nothing but smoldering ruins remained of the once beautiful church. The walls had crumbled, the roof had collapsed, and almost everything inside was reduced to ashes. For the members of the congregation, the loss was devastating. Freedom Ministries had been a place of worship, joy, and fellowship for many years, and now it was gone. The following morning, firefighters returned to the site to inspect the damage. The scene was grim. Blackened wood, twisted metal, and piles of ash covered the ground. As they walked through the ruins, one of the firefighters noticed something unusual. Amid the destruction, there were several objects that seemed untouched by the fire. It was a group of Bibles, neatly stacked on a charred table. The firefighters couldn't believe their eyes. The table itself was scorched, and everything around it had been destroyed, yet the Bibles were completely unharmed. Not a single page was burned. Beside them stood several wooden crosses, also untouched by the flames. The discovery sent shivers down their spines. They couldn't explain how the Bibles and crosses had survived when everything else was destroyed. The fire had been so hot that it had melted steel, yet these sacred items were left intact. The news of the unburned Bibles spread quickly, both in the local community and across the country. Pictures of the miraculous find were shared on social media, and people from all over the world expressed their amazement. Many saw it as a sign of divine protection, a reminder that God's presence remains even in the face of destruction. The Coal City Fire Department, which had fought the blaze, shared their thoughts in a now famous Facebook post. They wrote, "On March 3rd, 2019, we were dispatched to a fire at Freedom Ministries Church. Though odds were against us, God was not. In the midst of the fire and smoke, not a single Bible was burned, and not a single cross was harmed. If that isn't a sign of his power and presence, I don't know what is. For the Congregation of Freedom Ministries, the Untouched Bibles became a symbol of hope and resilience. Pastor Phil Farrington, the leader of the church, spoke about the discovery in a heartfelt sermon the following Sunday. Though the service had to be held in a temporary location, the spirit of the church was stronger than ever. Buildings can burn, but the word of God endures forever, Pastor Farrington told his congregation. These Bibles are a message to us. A message that even in our darkest moments, God is with us. He will never leave us, nor forsake us. The community rallied around the church, offering their support in any way they could. Donations poured in from across the country to help rebuild Freedom Ministries. Volunteers came together to clear the debris and lay the foundation for a new building. Through it all, the unburned Bibles remained a constant source of inspiration. Today, Freedom Ministries Church stands tall once again, rebuilt with the love and support of its members and the wider community. Inside the new church, the untouched Bibles are displayed in a special glass case, serving as a powerful reminder of the miracle that happened on that fateful night. The story of the unburned Bibles continues to inspire people far beyond West Virginia. It reminds us that faith can withstand even the fiercest of trials, and that God's presence is always with us, no matter the circumstances.